Okay, in this video we are looking at linear inequalities. So this is a new word, inequalities. Okay. We've heard the word linear before. Linear just means a line. Inequalities is greater than, less than. This is greater than or equal, and less than or equal. So this is greater than, less than, greater than or equal. So when you put an extra line in it, it means greater than or equal, and this is less than or equal. So the extra line means or equal to. Okay? That's called an inequality. That's different than an equation. An equation has an equal sign. So an equation has an equal sign. An inequality has the greater than and less than signs. The extra line here means or equal to. So for this one here, this graph shows the line y equals 2. So y equals 2. This line here is y equals 2 right there. That's that line. This here is going to say, so let's read this together. This is saying, I'm going to put a little quote, y is less than or equal to 2. So that's how you would read that. Less than or equal to 2. So this extra line here is the or equal to. So that's what this extra line is too. So I'm not sure if you've seen that before, or equal to. So less than you've probably seen, but or equal to is a little different. So that means that you still have the same y equals line. So it looks the same as this one. Right, so it looks the same as this one. We're going to have a y equals 2 line. So here, so y is 2. So it's the same linear. So we're still continuing with the topic of linear. So y equals 2 is this special case where y is 2 no matter where you go. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. That is y equals 2. And we have that line, and less than means that it's also anything below. So that means, and if I could shade it, I would. So I'm going to use a highlighter, and I'm going to shade everything below. Okay, if you can't shade it, you just use stripes. Okay, so stripes underneath means everything below. So that means this line and anything below. What that means is that sometimes in reality it actually makes more sense. Instead of saying that you have to be grade 10 to write the grade 10 math contest, you could be grade 10 or anything below it. So you could be grade 9, you could be grade 8 to write the grade 10. So below it or equal to. Right? So sometimes in life you actually have inequalities versus just an equation, right, to describe something. So that's or equal to. So now try it again, and when you read it, I want you to be able to practice reading this. So reading this you're going to read it in your head, right? So the way I'm going to think in my head is y is less than 2. So that's how I read this one. Y is less than 2. So in my brain I'm thinking y is less than 2. So I'm going to draw the line y is 2. That's still my horizontal line here. Is it always going to be a horizontal line? Not necessarily. No, it will not always be a horizontal line. So if you're wondering if it's always going to be a single number, no, I'll show you in example 1. Okay, so here, this is y is 2. This line here, y is 2. And I want less than, shoot, I made a mistake. I want less than but not equal. So see how that's a solid line and it looks just like this one when we draw y equals 2? This should have been a dashed line, so that's my mistake. I should have been paying attention. So you need to erase this, and I want you to draw a dashed line. I'll do better on the next one. Okay, so I want you to do a dashed line. I'll show you what that means. Dash, 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 dash. Okay, so it should look like dashed lines. So say for this one here, it's greater than 2. So, but look, it's not equal, so I want to do dashes. See how I'm doing dashes? Still put the arrow on the end, because it continues, so still got the arrow on the end. This is still y equals 2, so you can do dashes through it. All right, so this is y equals 2, it's a whole solid line. This is y is less than or equal to, so it means solid line and below. This is less than 2, so not equal, so dash, 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 but less. So if you don't have a highlighter, you're going to do this. Just do stripes underneath, and the stripes will indicate that you mean to color everything below it. Okay, so below. This one says y is, so in my brain I'm thinking y greater than 2, right? Y is greater than, oh, how do you read this? So the way you read it is, I started with the letter, and see how it's closed, right? It's closed, the point is closed towards the y, so y is less than. So if the mouth is closed to y, y is less than or equal to 2. This one, see how the mouth is open, or closed towards the y again? So y is less than 2. Here, the mouth is open, so you go y is greater. So when the mouth is eating the y, it's greater. So y is greater than 2. So that's how you write that, and then you would say, so everything above 2. So you would shade in everything above. So dashed line, because it's not equal. This one, okay, let's try it again. Y, the mouth is open to the y, so you would say greater. So in my brain, I'm thinking y greater or equal to 2. Right? Greater than, because the mouth is open to the y. Y is greater than or equal to 2. Greater or equal. So one more time. Mouth is closed to the y. Y is less than or equal to 2. So it's solid on the 2 and below. This is just y equals 2, so only solid line. This is y is less than, closed to the y, so it's below. This, the mouth is open to the y. Y is greater than 2, so it's above, but dashed line. Here, dashed or solid line for the y at 2. It's greater than or equal. So thinking dashed or solid, you should be thinking solid. So solid, it's equal to. So it's equal to, so it's like this. It's like this one, equal. And greater, since the mouth is open, you're going to shade above it. There you go. So you're shading above, and you've got that. Now, so hopefully that makes sense in terms of greater than, less than, and greater. So again, if it's closed towards the y, you're saying less than. Open towards the y, you're saying greater. If there's an extra line on it, then you're doing a solid line versus a dashed line. Okay, so now try this next one. Example 1. Graph y is greater than x. So what we do is I convert this to an equation. So change it to an equation. So change to an equation, which means you change it back to an equals. So then here, when you change it to an equation, I'm going to do that over here. So y equals x. So y equals x. So if I give you greater than x, I change it here. I know that I can graph this using my slope. So it's an invisible 1. So my m is 1. And then my b, if there's nothing here, that will tell me that b, that tells me, so there's nothing here, that b is 0. Right? So if there's no number there, it's a b is 0. If there's no number in front of the x, it's an invisible 1. That gives me this. And we know that this would get me a rise over a run. So we've practiced graphing for a while now, so you have to be able to graph. B is 0. You're going to plot that first. So 0. At 0, 0. Y-intercept is at 0. It's a rise 1, run 1. So rise, so that goes up 1, right 1. So from this point, up 1, right 1. From this point, up 1, right 1. From that point, up 1, right 1. From that point, up 1, right 1. I keep going with the pattern, so hopefully you see the pattern. You should be going left to right on the pattern. So hopefully you can go back 1, down 1, so you're going to follow the pattern this way. I want it as long as possible, so you're going to make the line with the ruler as long as possible, filling the grid with arrows. We've talked about this. So I want as long as possible, so I want this whole thing long. Oh, it was supposed to be dashed. So we're going to have to go back. Luckily you have an eraser. So I graph it first, and then I'll fix it. Okay, so I want to graph greater than, so we're going to do dashes through. Okay, dash it through, and you've got an eraser, so make sure you erase so that it looks like a dash. Right? So pretty, 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 pretty. So it's a dashed line. They're pretty. Okay, so dash, dash, dash line, because it's not equal to. So back over here, it's not, sorry, It's not equal to, so it's dashes. I've got the arrows on it, so I've got that. So that's my step 1, is to graph this line. Then you check a point. So you want to check a point. So step 2, I'm going to take, so this was step 1. So step 1. Then step 2, I'm going to check a point. So this step here, I'm going to take it over here. I'm going to check a point. I'm going to check a point. What does that mean? That means check any point that you want and sub it into this equation, the y is greater than x equation, and then you decide if it should be shaded above or below. So what do I mean by check a point? I would check a point somewhere on the y-axis. Any point will do. So if I want to see if I want to shade up, I want to see if this point should be shaded or this point should be shaded. So I'm going to check a point, say 0, 2, 0, 2. I want to know if I should shade towards the 2 or down away from the 2. So this goes in for your x, and this goes in for your y, because that's your x and y. That's x and y. Sorry, I'll do that in green. So that's x and y, so you sub it in. X goes into the x, and the y goes into the y. So I sub that in, and I go like this. Y is 2, so 2, and x is 0. Now, is this a true statement? Is 2 greater, so the mouth is open, greater than 0? True or not true? 2 greater than 0. So that is true. If that's true, then you would shade towards this point here. So I'm checking this point, and I go, yes, it is true. So I'm going to shade up towards this point. So you would shade, that's okay, just do straight lines up. So it's saying I want to shade that way. If it's not true, then you would say don't touch that point, and you would shade the other side. Okay, so step 3 is to go back and shade. So if I said to you, so now this is y is greater than x. That's what we just graphed. Okay, so what we graphed was y equals x, dashed line, then we checked a point, and we said greater than means above. Where would y less than x be? So if I took the same question, but I changed the direction. So here it's greater than, and here I switch it so it's x is greater than, so it's open towards the x. That would shade the other side. So it's the other side. It would be this side, below. You would shade below. How would this change if I had this? So this would be a solid line, not dashed. Right? So that would give me a solid line, not dashed. So if I put equals to, you do the same thing, but do a solid line.